Plans for a 45-minute to an hour dissection of Andy Dalton's contract with the Saints have been scrapped. Instead, we'll do an underdog draft, which is just about to start. Welcome to the deep end. Hi, Mike Schopp, Adam Krautwurst. We just got started in an Underdog Superflex draft. Adam, tell them how it works.
Yeah, so I want to apologize. I know everyone wanted to jump in here with us, but Mike and I just jumped in, and we were the last two in. I thought we would have like 10 minutes to promote this thing, but it was a hot one. So yeah, Underdog, Best Ball, Superflex. So a lot of you are familiar with the Underdog drafts. And Mike and I are drafting tonight separately. I have the 9 spot because I can't possibly ever pick above 7. And I think Mike's picking 12.
12 for the second time and 2 or 3 for me. I'm very vulnerable here because these are all different categories where I am relatively less confident.
Yep.
Superflex, I'm a little bit less confident. Underdog, I'm a little bit less confident. I've been using it on my laptop because I'm 50 and not on my phone. And I guess on your phone, Underdog is super easy and cool and hip. And on the laptop, it's like, okay, I have to drag this down and where's the board and how many positions and what is it, PPR? So I don't know. I hope no one's watching. So this is half point, right?
Half point PPR, start two receivers, 2 running backs, a flex, a quarterback. So basically you can start 2 quarterbacks. And you can start 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and then a flex, which can be a quarterback, running back, or receiver. So you obviously want to start a quarterback in that spot. And I'm on the clock. Pick 9. I think I'm going to go.
8 quarterbacks, 7 quarterbacks out of 8 so far.
Yes, I know.
That's not surprising, is it? That's
what
happens.
No. I think I'm going to go Russ Wilson. This is how this is going to go. So yeah.
How much was this? 10?
$10.
Okay, we can fool around a little bit then.
Oh yeah, fool around, get freaky with some builds here. This is the fun. I love doing challenging little builds.
I'll take Lance.
Oh, that's your boy.
You know, it's kind of amazing that it's been almost a year since that draft, and we're still kind of nowhere on resolution there. Like even today at the owners' meetings, Kyle Shanahan was talking about just, we'll see, you know, it's still up in the air.
Right.
I'll take Jamar Chase.
Ooh. Talk to me about Chase. I took Chase in the second round of an Underdog earlier today. What are you thinking? Where do you have him in your wide receiver rankings?
Well, it's a matter for me that, you know, he's in the top 3 now that Tyreek Hill was traded and is out of that group. It's Chase, Jefferson, and Kupp in some order. And I'm just kind of looking for variety. You tell me in terms of best ball strategy, like Chase, I mean, they all offer this, but just the big play potential as opposed to more of a, I don't know, none of those guys is a grinder, you know, 10 for 90 or anything like that. Kupp might be most that of all, but you got to love Jamar Chase. And I think this is a cliche that's often wrong, but I feel like he's somebody where you could say he probably gets better. And they have really gone after offensive line, Cincinnati. So while some of the Burrow numbers and their offense numbers look like they're ripe for regression, they could also be more efficient, and Burrow could be just better overall because he's not under as much pressure.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. And it's gonna be it's cool about the Superflex thing is you can take some chances here, and usually quarterbacks are pretty safe bets at the top of these draft boards. And yeah, Lance, if he gets that spot, especially if they trade Jimmy G, I think he could explode. That's what you want. You want those dual threat quarterbacks.
But it is like you could never assume that an organization is just like sort of right and they know what they're doing and everybody sort of trying to do the same thing. But man, San Francisco, they get so much credit. I've griped about this before on this show other times. it's just amazing that now the free agency period is over and the trades that have happened, and you still have Garoppolo sitting there. Shanahan did say today that Lance would be the number one at their workouts, and he sounded to me like somebody who's prepared to move on to Lance. But you can't trust that guy when it comes to press conferences, and I don't know. It's just amazing to me that Garoppolo is still there. I think it's amazing that he played it all last year, just let alone to the NFC Championship. I don't know. Like, they could get stuck there and he could play again. I don't know what it says about Lance. It's hard to know, but I feel like the reasons that we liked him a year ago are still true, like what the profile is. And if he gets on the field, I want to be optimistic.
For sure. So yeah, I came back in the second. So you went Lance, Jamar Chase. I came back in the second and went Jalen Hurts. I didn't want any of the running backs there. So again, in these super flex drafts, quarterbacks go early. They go often as they should. I want 3 starters. Like, I want 3 bona fide starters. It's a lot easier to do in August, but right now, probably the last like 4 or 5, we don't really know. So I want to come out of the draft with 3 starting quarterbacks, unless I was to have a top 3 QB, which I don't think I have. Hurts performed top 3 a little bit last year, but I never have a top 3 pick, so I can never get that top 3 guy. So, but I want to come out with 3 starting quarterbacks generally.
Yeah, I can understand that. We're talking 20 rounds here, best ball.
Yep. All right, so it's on me. Quarterbacks and running backs are the name of the game here. So I'm going to go with a DraftSharks.com favorite, Joe Mixon here.
Yes.
So
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And so my strategy generally going into these, Mike, is to do quarterback and running back heavy, because you only have to start 2 receivers and it's only half PPR. So I think the least valuable position in these is receiver / tight end. It's okay to get 1 early. I've done that before. I've gotten 1 early and then ignored it for 10 rounds. But if I have to start basically as many quarterbacks as I do receivers, I want to go get my quarterbacks early.
Well, I was going to take Debo there, despite what you said about receivers. Instead, I'll take Nick Chubb, who is great. And I don't know if they move off of Hunt. For now, they haven't, but it's been a few years in a row where we have the same conversations about Chubb. Yes, a new quarterback, but so excellent, and still a team I think that is and should be committed to him and running the ball. They could do more of it. If that ever happens, then it gets even better. And so he'll be my running back 1. And then Matt Ryan, I do like Matt Ryan. I mean, obviously most quarterbacks are gone already in this thing, but it's an upgrade for him in terms of team, and it's an upgrade for the Colts. So I keep coming back to the fact the Colts were kind of feared until their last game, and then they bombed in that game against Jacksonville. It's still a pretty good roster.
Yeah, it's interesting, and you're talking about the Colts, right, Mike?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I guess they haven't had the best things to say about Carson Wentz either.
Wow,
since he left.
Just, no pleasantries really at all there. That's just so rare.
I know.
He's off the team, and you would expect everybody to play nice, but he could not get a meeting with the owner to discuss his future. Like, he wouldn't even meet with him.
How bizarre!
I know.
So bizarre. But
what do you think about Hurts's season ahead? Like, are you confident there? Hurts is always at least a little bit of concern about how much faith they have in him, but it's typical. They're saying the usual right things at this point. Are you drafting him with that sort of confidence? It doesn't feel too different than a year ago, even though last year happened and he went to the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with the way that it's turned out so far, kind of reading the tea leaves here. And I think, and if they go there's whispers of DK Metcalf, maybe to a trade to there. I mean, that could unlock him, for this year for fantasy wise. So I'm going to bet on that. I like what I've heard so far. I don't think they're going to draft one. And this supposedly isn't a strong quarterback class.
Mm-hmm. No,
but yeah,
it would be strange if they did at this point.
correct. And even if they did, like, I mean, I don't even know if that rookie would even necessarily outplay Hurts in the preseason, you know. So,
Oh yeah, no, I could see Philadelphia doing something like that, like in round 4, maybe, where it's somebody that's not too much of a, an obvious threat. Where we're talking about Hurts, is he playing this week? All the time. You give him some room and see if they can't grow their passing game a little bit. Smith is really good. I've been drafting him, Adam, Devontae Smith. Not yet tonight though.
Yeah, we'll see. Did he already go?
I don't think so. No, there's still time. I guess I still could.
There's still time.
You're going to draft him.
That's right. You're right. I'm going to snipe you on him. Yeah. So, and again, I apologize. AJ says he upset he couldn't get in. I didn't expect us to be the last 2 guys in the room. So, unfortunately, next week maybe we'll plan it out a little bit better.
Can you do a private one on Underdog where?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we could do a private FFPC one, which we could certainly do that next week.
All right, I'm free.
Wouldn't mind doing that. Yeah, you're free. Am I on the clock here? When am I?
No,
I'm up next.
We're at the top of 5, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm way behind then.
Well, I'm on right now.
You are on the clock. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, that's
another Underdog little quirk for me is they don't advance the bar at the top when I don't know. I'm from a different era.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Jameis.
Yeah. Jameis, yeah. I think Jameis is going to be the starter there. And they just is that Dalton there today?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think they said he's the backup. So I'll trust that for now. And I got my 3 starting quarterbacks with Russell Wilson, Jalen Hurts, and Jameis Winston. And you're coming up on the clock here. So it's interesting. The guy picking in front of you, Joey Watts, doesn't have a running back yet.
He took Debo, who doesn't count as a running back. There's James Conner. I'm fine with that.
There's James Conner. Yeah. Interesting. Couple nice running backs still left for you, and you're going to go George Kittle.
Kittle to put with Lance, and then I think Dobbins is the play.
Oh, you would. I like that pick. That's who I was who I was looking at. For sure.
I think you're one of my sources on that. Like burning the hole in their pockets, right?
That's right. That's it. It's not. There's no analytics there, Mike. It's just
No. The analytics are he's a great player who was picked in the 2nd round, and then had a season-long injury last year. Like there really hasn't been. It's your argument. The analytics are underneath your argument. They're just why would Baltimore want to squander the asset? So assuming he can still run, which I guess need to be proven after the injury, then there's every reason to think he can do a lot for them. Jackson running and how they balance with passing, that's always the question with Baltimore. But when Dobbins was playing, he had to trade with Mark Ingram and Gus Edwards. Remember the playoff games in Tennessee and then in Buffalo? It was really split. It should be their year to find out what he can do. Yeah,
no, I'm excited about him for sure. I know he's coming off the injury, but it's going to be, a full year. And AJ mentions he doesn't think that they can do a private league for a tournament, which is probably right. So,
what's this?
What's what?
This is a private league, or is this part of the tournament?
This is part of the tournament. Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Well, then I'm glad I'm stacking at least a little bit. I didn't realize that.
That's right. Yeah, I think all the Underdog stuff, all of the 12-team leagues, I think are tournaments. Like all the main stuff you see on the main page, I think are all tournaments.
Okay.
So,
how does that change your strategy?
Yeah, stacking a little bit more. I mean, I generally just do their tournaments. Sometimes for fun, I'll do like a 3-team draft, just because I like to have 8 first-round picks. For the fun of it, but yeah, so yeah, stacking a little bit, but I still stick to generally the same approach of, I mean, I'm not doing 150 lineups. I'm not max entering these things, so I don't have the luxury of really doing 3 or 4 different styles of strategy like some of these guys can do, and And so I have to kind of plant my flag on certain players and certain strategies going into it. Is this your first Superflex draft of the year, Mike?
Maybe. Billy Muzio's was not, so that's not one. I haven't done any Superflex on FFPC. I don't know. I feel a little bit less confident in there, like I said earlier. It's just reps, and knowing when the quarterback run is going to happen, or just all different metrics, which is great. I mean, every one of these different formats are interesting in their own way, but I've gotten more comfortable doing the best ball slims at FFPC, the never too early. I have done 4 of those, and that's where I feel like I'm in my groove.
Yeah. Death Dealers asks, what thoughts about team 3 with only 1 quarterback after 6 rounds? He just took his second one in Trubisky. I like Trubisky as a sleeper. As his second quarterback, though, that might be a little tough.
I have a question for Death Dealers.
Yes.
Is he going to allow us to reciprocate at the Expo this year after his generosity from last year?
I know. I don't know if he will. I don't know if Hillard will.
I don't know if he will.
It's not Keith.
He was insistent last year that
I love it.
Be so generous, and I'm
Death Dealers and I right now are in a. Oh yeah, we're in a FFPC draft against you.
I'm in there. Yep.
A tournament. We'll break that down next week. That's been a fun draft.
And I'm 12 there, and you might be 9 there, 8 or 9.
Yeah. Yep. I'm gonna have a lot of practice down here at the end. So,
is Cup your wide receiver one? Go ahead and pick first, and we'll talk about it on the way around.
Let me see. Who do I like here? Nah. Any of these guys? Yeah, I think I'm gonna go this route if he's still there. I think I'm gonna go. I won't take your guy. I'll let you have him, but I'm gonna go because I don't have much of. And plus, I can lock him up with my quarterback here. I'm gonna go Michael Thomas. It's my first share.
I like that.
My first share. So I wasn't on Michael Thomas last year. He was going in the 3rd round before the injury because of the Jameis Winston situation. I didn't think Winston in his game meshed, but that was the 3rd round. Now we're looking at him in the 7th round. Now it's super flex, so it pushes him down. So even if he's a 5th round receiver, I'm okay with that. I think he's got something to prove there. He's really the only bona fide receiver there. So I like Michael Thomas going where you can get him now.
Yeah, there were different questions about him last year. So with Winston in there, I mean, name how many players you can on the Saints who you think are in line for targets. So
sure,
I like that. Well, I went Davis Mills. I'm on the optimistic side when it comes to him, and there's really not much of a reason why at this point Houston should dabble with anybody else at the position. We made it through most of free agency, and I don't know. Like I hear. The most of what I hear is let's try this, and they're not expected to win anyway. He did have some big games for them in fantasy, and Cooks is still there. So, and I like Collins, and they'll be losing all the time. So if I can keep I can keep Mills on the field, which is basically without them drafting someone new in like the first 2 rounds of this draft, I think at least starts with him. And if he does okay, maybe I get a season out of him. I've been drafting him.
Yeah, there's just some interesting picks here. On Christian McCaffrey fell. Now, I don't know how far Christian McCaffrey normally falls in these because I'm always taking him because I'm picking 7th, and that's kind of where he goes when I draft. But, man, he fell all the way to the 2nd round. I feel like that's a great start there to be able to get possibly the RB1. I mean, he took him as the RB2. RBB 4043 took him as the RB2. So that's interesting. And you passed on what receiver were you talking about taking earlier?
Cup.
I was talking about Devonta Smith. I was torn between Michael Thomas, Devonta Smith. I didn't know if you wanted to take Devonta Smith there. But Cup, yeah, Cup's my wide receiver 1 now that Tyreek's moved on. I just think he's so safe. His production last year was absolutely all-time production. And so it's going to be a situation where is he going to do that again? No, he isn't. It's almost impossible. But I think he's if he stays healthy, he's an absolutely lock top 3 to 5 fantasy receiver. And that's fine. When you're making a first round pick, if you're looking for safe, it doesn't get any more safe than Cooper Kupp.
I suppose I've got nothing against him. It was more just I'm thinking big plays and who have I taken less of so far. So I got to Chase. The PPR on McCaffrey being half point, it looked like it might have been irrelevant in terms of round 1 in this draft because 11 of 12 were quarterbacks except for team 3 with Taylor. So really it's almost like McCaffrey. You could look at him. It's more about RB2, I think, than it is overall pick 15. And, in more of a PPR format, you might see him go 5, as low as running back 5 or so, would you say? I mean, a couple of those guys are up there with him, and this isn't surprising because that's why we love him. That's why we love Eckler or Elliott in his prime is, the pass catching, Kamara.
Yeah, for sure. It's all, yeah, exactly. And
so they're all tilted toward the PPR side.
Yeah. Yeah, there's Amon-Ra goes middle of the 8th round. I'm starting to dig into some of these guys now. And Juju Smith-Schuster, I just took him. Me and Death Dealers just took him in the 125 best ball tournament over at FFPC. If they don't add anything significant, even if they take a receiver in the first round, I still think Juju's in a really good spot there to be going in the 8th round. What do you? I don't think we've talked much about him.
No, I like that a lot. And the fans, we look at the money and try to glean from that. Well, what does that say about the team's commitment? James Conner is a player last year where many analysts, I think, were deceived. Like, well, they're not paying him. So what do you think really happens there? So Valdez-Scantling came along with a bigger contract than Smith-Schuster, but Smith-Schuster had such that huge year going back, is it 3 years now with Pittsburgh and with Mahomes? You can at least assume that there's a pretty good floor there. So I like the player. He's young, and he would be, if you want to read into his contract situation, motivation there. And I feel like where he goes in these drafts is definitely justified, and he could go earlier.
Yeah, completely agree there. Man, it's
these
so
are
fun
easy for me, by the way.
It's so fun doing. Oh, Tony, I like that Tony pick there. He's back to the. He can't quit the San Francisco stack. Claypool, that's a great pick. I love Claypool. I think he fits Mitch Trubisky's style more than Deontay Johnson. I'm not saying Deontay Johnson won't outproduce him, but I think when you're looking at ADPs, Claypool in the 10th round here of the Superflex, I think is really, really nice.
Huge athlete. I would have taken Cooks in there too. He went in the middle of 9 with Mills on my roster.
Yep. I'm going to go get my first tight end with Zach Ertz. I know we talked about him a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
I like him there a lot. Took him what did I take him? Tight end. Does it say what? No, 10.4. But yeah, no, I like him there. I like him ahead of Gronk and a couple of those other guys. He could be in the after you get to the elite 4 or 5 tight ends. I think he could creep up to the top of that next tier.
Looks like tight end 10 for me, if I'm counting these really fast.
Yeah.
I think that's a more promising range for tight ends than it's felt, at least last year. Last year, you and I did pros versus Joes and came very close to picking Kelsey at 101. You had Waller up there, and then Kittle up there, and even Hawkinson and Pitts. And that's still pretty much the group, with Andrews, of course, as well. And that's still pretty much the group. But last year in this area, it was Engram, and Gesicki, I guess. Not that he's as bad a choice this year as maybe Engram, who's moved on to Jacksonville. I don't know. I think there's just more positive profiles here with a Schultz, or Hawkinson's there too. I think Ertz is another one, and there are a couple more still left to be picked. Who I think also a few more. That I'm not as, it's not as dire to me as it felt a year ago if you missed out on tight end in like the first 2 rounds in FFPC format anyway.
For sure. And just checking in on Team 3, Mets Go Let's, talk about him not getting the quarterbacks. He ended up getting three starters. He got Fields, Trubisky, if he can hold off any rookie or something like that, and Jared Goff. I mean, unless Detroit could take a quarterback. What did they pick? Two? One or two? Yeah, they could take one there. That could certainly beat out Goff. But again, if this person's doing 20, 30 of these drafts, you do want one of these or a couple of these drafts where you're taking the last couple quarterbacks available, and loading up on, the number one tight end, the number one running back, stuff like that. Just roll the dice, see how it plays out.
Definitely.
So
yeah, you've got what? You've got about half dozen teams or so, and that's just a first guess here where you don't know for sure who they're going to go with, what Mariota's future is, Trubisky.
Yeah.
Houston, I mentioned. Seattle would be another. You got a few teams where at this time of the year when you're drafting, it's really, you just have your fingers crossed that your guy is going to start. I don't think that mystery exists anymore with the Giants. When they added Tyrod Taylor, I thought that was interesting, and maybe there would be a competition there. But I'm gullible, but I'm convinced by everything they're saying it's going to be Jones, and part of that is that ownership does press conferences with the Giants, and that story has always been they shut Jones down last year. That was the John Maris Carpenter thing. Like, I think Jones is going to get a chance there with a new offensive-minded coach to play.
Yeah, I completely agree. And he's the same. He's the same style that Josh Allen is in Buffalo, where Daboll came from. So I think he's going to utilize his legs, and I think I really like Daniel Jones there. Hopefully he can unlock some of the skill position guys now there with Brian Daboll there. I'm going to go with a guy that one of the things I try to do in the offseason is try to go back on guys I was high on last year and why weren't they good. And I was really high on Rashad Bateman coming out of the draft. And he was my wide receiver 2 coming out. And, he got hurt. He missed a lot of time. And then he came back. He showed flashes. And I just don't want to forget about my initial thoughts on him. And no, he's got another year. Hopefully he's got the whole preseason to get in sync with his quarterback. And they haven't added anybody of significance yet. And hopefully they don't in the actual draft. And I really like Bateman this year. I was choosing between Bateman and Rondale Moore. And I really like that Rondale Moore pick.
Mm-hmm. I'll go Rondale Moore and Lazard here. Just play put a late chip there on how he is the depth chart wide receiver. They have plenty of draft picks and time enough to add one or two. We've seen Green Bay have a reluctance to do that in the past, and Cobb is still there, right?
Yes.
But MVS gone, Adams, of course. I have a lot of Aaron Jones, Adam. I think he's undervalued in drafts. I mean, he's going in round 4 sometimes.
Yeah.
And I mean, not in Superflex, and probably go lower tonight. I didn't notice him, but I like the idea of him catching the ball with Dillon having proven what he can be in the backfield. So it's not a home run for me, Lazard, but at this point of the draft, there's a good chance that he's on the field a lot for Green Bay. Yeah,
for sure. Another guy I like kind of in these rounds, I can't believe I'm saying it, but
let me guess. You can't believe you're saying it. It's not a Bill, because you would never say, I can't believe I'm saying it. Who is it?
Devin Singletary.
Oh, it is. Okay.
It is a Bill.
The only way it's a Bill is if it's
the only way it's a Bill. They haven't, I haven't heard them linked to now recently that people have been mock drafting Breece Hall to Buffalo.
I don't see it.
I don't think, I for fantasy would absolutely love it, obviously. But the Bills don't seem like the type. They've never done that. And maybe they're like, hey, we're all in this year. We really, we really want to do something like that. So outside of something like that happening, I think they've shown, they wanted the JD McKissick, didn't get him. They haven't really added much. So if they go into the draft and they don't take a running back in the first or second round, I think Singletary's the guy. So I'm willing to bet. I didn't get Singletary here. I took him earlier in the day, but in the 10th round, I'm willing to bet on Singletary this year because he's clearly – last year we didn't know. Did the Bills like Singletary? Did the Bills like Moss? Now we know they like Singletary. And so he could be the guy there.
Well, it reminds me of last year when around this time of year here in Buffalo, we were talking about Travis Etienne a lot. And the draft came and went. Etienne was picked right in front of them. And I don't feel like I know whether they would have done that. They ended up going edge rusher in rounds 1 and 2, and they were able to defend why they did that. But I didn't want to rule out the possibility that they really liked Etienne because there were a lot of rumors connecting the Bills to Etienne. It feels like that could have been valid, or that could have been a play by them this time of year, talking up a certain player. If you're very anti running back in the first round and you're the Bills, you'd want somebody to use a pick on a running back in front of them. And Pittsburgh also did that, as well as Jacksonville. By the way, 2 teams that beat the Bills last year, not that Etienne was on the field. So this year you have Breece Hall rumors again. I don't know if he'll be picked in the first round. The Bills are at 25, so he could be available to them. But I'd be shocked, apart from this kind of analysis where you're trying to figure out what people really mean in these rumors. Just like they need corner and wide receiver. You can always use that. We're going to be talking about Diggs and money, and Sanders is probably gone. Beasley is gone. Crowder is here. Speed. It's such a deep first round for receivers. That would be my hope for the Bills, and I think also my guess, if not corner.
Yeah. I know you're coming up on the clock here, so I'll start talking about it, and then you can pick and circle back to it. But I find it really interesting. We had Clyde Edwards-Helaire taking only 5 picks ahead of Ronald Jones, and I'm in the camp. I haven't heard this a lot, but it looks like Kupoli 16. I think Ronald Jones as a runner is better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire as a runner. I understand he might not be that good of an all-around player. I understand he can't catch the ball, he can't block, whatever. As a pure runner, I think he's every bit as good as Clyde Edwards-Helaire is. I mean, he had like a 99-yard touchdown run. Was it last year or 2 years ago now?
Yeah, against Carolina.
Yeah, he's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's explosive. I think CEH gets banged up. I mean, they don't really throw to the running back anyways. So, like, if CEH gets banged up or Ronald Jones just looks good, I like betting on Ronald Jones. Now, I don't like the 5 picks of separation there. I would like to get Ronald Jones a little bit later. But yeah, I think I'm going to be in on a lot of Ronald Jones this year.
Well, maybe this is what most people are saying. I don't think I've heard very much on Kansas City since they made that move, but I would at least wonder if Jones is their first down back and Edwards-Helaire is more in the pass catching role.
Sure.
He seemed to have that reputation coming into the league, and maybe it was a little bit, overheated, but that seems plausible to me that they try to get Edwards-Helaire into more of a niche role to make better use of him. And if they wanted to do that, Jones is a great idea for the right kind of complement, I think. So who knows if that's how they're thinking, but I'm also sort of eager to pick him where he's going and hope that I'm right.
For sure. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. You're betting on cheap guys here. And that was kind of like my bet on Khalil Herbert here. Now, I don't think he's going to outplay Montgomery, but Khalil Herbert showed last year when he's the lone back there, he can be an RB1. And I think, again, it's never a bad bet to take handcuff running backs late, especially when you don't have, like if I don't have David Montgomery, running backs are getting injured all the time. And their backups can be league winners. So I like guys like Khalil Herbert. I like guys like Alexander Madison. I like guys like Ronald Jones. We were targeting a lot of those guys last year, the James Conner types, the guys when there's an injury, injury to Chase Edmonds Conner exploded, So I like doing that a lot in any format.
It's going fast.
I know. It's a 20-round draft, just an FYI.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's moving here, which I really, really like. That's why I like these, man. You can do like 4 or 5 of these a stinking day.
In truth, I've known for a week or more, we've talked about this idea for a long time, that we'd be drafting tonight and not talking about Andy Dalton signing a backup deal with the Saints, like I said at the beginning. But I had no idea we were doing Superflex or a tournament.
Oh.
And so I hope I'm not completely out in left field here with these. I mean, in the FFPC world with tournaments, there's a lot of, at least from me, a lot of thinking about trying to build rare combinations. And, you look at Fantasy Mojo and you think through, like, what kind of stacks do I want? Should I have been thinking that same way, like to that extent tonight?
I think it's a little bit harder in Superflex. I mean, now it's just going to sound weird because you're focusing more on quarterbacks, which would almost put the focus more on stacking. But I just think, like, with my style of I want 3 starting QBs. I can't take 3 starting QBs and then stack them all, right? I can't, or even stack 2 of them, So like today I had picked 7th and I went Burrow, and Chase fell all the way around to me in the 2nd round. So I went Burrow Chase, and I thought that was a nice focal point there to build. And then I ended up working off that for later on in the draft. But no, I don't think, again, everyone's stacking, and I don't think you should reach for stacks. If they're there, great, do it. And again, we talked about this last week. Part of stacking in these tournaments is the schedule, right? So we want to stack high scoring games at the end of the year. We don't even know who everyone's playing yet. So stacks, I think at this point, stacks aren't that important.
Yeah, it's hard to know. I mean, we've been trying to stack like that in February, and then everybody got traded. So what good did that do?
That's right. Yeah, there's still the draft, so we don't know. We don't know what's going on there. But
well, I'm playing while you get ready to go. I'm playing favorites tonight here. In these conditions, Curtis Samuel is a favorite. Irv Smith is a favorite. Paris Campbell, Matt Ryan, and I'm always picking Paris Campbell because he's super good. He just has to not be injured. Maybe a big if. Chris Carson, I like that idea too. And then Penny re-signed, and Pete Carroll is talking up Penny. I don't know. Carson will still be there, I think, unless he is too banged up and doesn't make it or something. And if he's there, I would expect him to have some role. So it's not quite a handcuff, and it's probably not a good team, but end of pick 15, okay.
Yeah, no, I really like that. I know Matt Schauf, Draft Sharks Matt Schauf would love that pick. Big Chris Carson guy there. But
is he still on Carson after the Penny?
Yeah, I think he is, because he says, and I don't disagree with him here. He said, like, Penny has had, like, I mean, granted, they were in a row. They were last year, and it's like, what have you done for me lately? Recency bias. But I mean, Penny has had 5 good games in his career, and that's when he was force fed the ball and could stay healthy. Penny never stays healthy. I mean, he just happened to, so betting on a guy like Chris Carson, who doesn't really stay healthy a lot either. But I mean, again, betting on Chris Carson 6 or 7 rounds later is probably the better bet than Penny.
Do you think they go with Locke? Sounds like probably. They might. It's Mayfield. It's not Garoppolo. It's Locke, or it's who? Rookie.
Geno Smith.
Geno Smith.
I mean, I think, was Carroll talking today about Geno Smith? Like, he's always got to talk up his own guys, but
Locke is the one they traded Russell Wilson for,
yeah,
in a sense. So young enough, they've talked him up too. I would think that they want to see him of the quarterbacks they have, but there's also, they draft early enough. Malik Willis, they do draft early enough, right? After that trade.
Yeah. Well, I think they have a pick now. I don't think they had one. Yeah.
I'll get that for you. Let me know if I'm up.
No, you got a while.
Okay. Seattle picks 9th.
9th. There you go.
That could be quarterback 2 at worst.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't they go get a Baker Mayfield, right? I mean, I don't know. I just feel like
I would.
I mean, he's fine for what Pete Carroll wants to do. You don't want the guy to throw. He's the perfect guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just find it. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll see what happens in the draft. If they don't get a guy that they like, then maybe they'll go attack Baker Mayfield there.
Yeah, you'd want to do that before the draft, I think, and have a competition, and then maybe your draft rookie is in round 3, which might be optimal for this draft. Then I think you don't have to worry too much about that congestion on your roster. If you are thinking about Mayfield, but you wait until the draft, I don't know. Sure, I think it's a different equation. Then you might feel more pressure to take the quarterback early. It depends who they like and how they see things falling. And you still have a pretty wide range of opinions on that, from analysts who think the usual quarterback thing will happen and Malik Willis will go 2, and then Corral or Pickett will go in the first round, and so on, to it's the EJ Manuel draft. Nobody's worth it. And maybe this year will be very different. So teams are going to have to try to figure that out for themselves if they want somebody. That's Seattle and Carolina, and maybe the Lions and maybe Houston and a few others.
Completely agree there, and it's going to be interesting to see how those quarterbacks fall. That'll be an interesting little prop bet for draft night there, it's going to be fun, and this has been just the most. I feel like, the last couple of days have just been awful because no one's being traded. No, I mean they had us on fire there for 2 weeks, and here we are just jonesing for some stuff. And you think with all the coaches and everybody at the NFL owners meeting that there'd be it's kind of like the baseball winter meetings there. You think there'd be trades galore going on, but not so much.
Yeah, you don't get trades, but you do get that picture of all the coaches, which this year 4 of them skipped. I don't know. I want to know everything. I want to know what the protocol is for that. Like, do you have to be Bill Belichick to skip? And then if so, why is Dan Campbell not in the picture? And just, who stands next to whom and what do you wear for that? I love all the details in that picture, which was yesterday.
What would you wear, Mike? You're a coach in that photo. What are you wearing?
Well, I've gained weight, so I want to make sure I don't look. I've got an organization to represent. I wear dark clothing, but I'm in Florida and I'm younger than some of those guys, not as many as I would have been. The coaches have gotten younger, but shorts, I think, and then the right shoes. If I'm in the front, I'm happy to just go dark polo or even like a short turtleneck or something like that, and shorts, light colored shorts.
I like it.
Do that. Maybe a visor.
Oh yeah, gotta go backwards. A backwards visor.
No headgear in that picture. Maybe 1 or 2 guys, but most of those guys look like they were pretty cleaned up.
Well, I wore my Josh Allen jersey tonight to hopefully get some luck to finally get the first pick. Nothing. I can't pick inside the top 7. It's wild, but soon. I'm not stopping one of these until I get.
No, I expect to see you in another one around 10.
Listen, I got money in the account. That works.
Me too.
Burn right through it.
I haven't had any plans for it, but it's in there. So we're near the end here. This is the end of 18.
We each have 2 picks left. Do you want to run through? Why don't you run through your team?
Well, I don't know if my balance is right. 3, 5, 8, 2 at this point. Yours is a little different, but I've got a stack for each quarterback: Lance, Ryan, and Mills. For Lance, I've got Kittle and Ayuk. For Ryan, I've got Campbell. And for Mills, I've got Nico Collins, who I like. Jamar Chase, stud receiver. Nick Chubb, stud running back. Dobbins, too. Neither guy a big PPR guy. This is half point.
Which is fine, yeah, because this is a half point PPR, so Chubb and Dobbins go up.
I like my receivers in the middle. Claypool, a ton. Ayuk is more for Lance. Rondale Moore is a nice value, I think. Lazard could be. I always pick Curtis Samuel. And then Irv Smith is my favorite tight end in that 10 to 15 range with Albert O, who went right in front of me. So it's, most of these guys were not stretches for me.
Yeah. I really, really like that Chase Claypool pick. I think I'm going to have a lot of Claypool this year.
Yep, I like it too.
If he keeps staying down to that low.
By the way, Kenneth Walker is my one rookie so far. Michigan State, maybe running back 2 in the draft.
Yeah, for sure. I could totally see that. I think you took him in another draft that we recapped last week, I think, right?
Muzio. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There you go. So I ended up going quarterback. I stuck with my guns, went quarterback, running back early. That's what I normally do. I went with Russell Wilson and Jalen Hurts. Fine. Mixon, DeAndre Swift, Winston Jacobs. I really like those running backs. I would have, if I could go back, maybe I would go Fournette over Swift. I'm kind of torn there, but Winston, I think is going to be a top 20 fantasy quarterback, and I got him as my number 3. So Josh Jacobs, I've been taking a lot of. I think we talked about that before, which I'm fine. He's my RB3. Then I stuck my foot into the wide receiver pool and stacked Michael Thomas.
Yes.
Which I really like. That's my first receiver in the 7th round. Went Hunter Renfrow. Zach Ertz is my number 1 tight end, and I'm on the clock. I'm going to go with a tried and true. I'm going to stick my foot back into the water again with this guy, Trey Sermon.
Oh,
maybe he's the backup. If he's the backup, maybe who knows? Who knows what happened to him last year in camp? Who knows? So I'm going to give him another shot in the 18th to 19th round, wherever we are, and just cross my finger. Well, I've got Elijah Mitchell too, so he handcuffs him there on accident. I wasn't planning on doing that, but
I was going to take Jonnu Smith right in front of me. Okay, I need a new tight end.
Do it.
1 running back and 1 tight end here. This is weird, man. I'm going to take Damian Williams in Atlanta.
Yep.
And then
these
player, but
these are the best picks because you just get to throw caution to the wind.
Granson.
Okay, there you go.
Kylan Granson, Indianapolis.
Yep.
With Matt Ryan. It's Mo Alley Cox, and then maybe it's Granson at this point.
I think. Well, who knows? Maybe there was a falling out between Carson Wentz and Kylan Granson, and Kylan Granson won. Right? Wentz is gone.
That's probably what happened.
Wentz is gone.
I like Jonnu Smith in that spot because it feels like in these drafts everybody forgot about him. But
yeah, it's amazing.
I feel like that could be good.
Amazing. They spent all that money on Jonnu Smith and they don't even use him. It's wild.
And I've been taking Troutman too, and he was an option there, but maybe it's Taysom Hill. I don't know.
That's interesting. I was going to
leave him for you too.
Well, I'm all done. I took Zay Jones. I was thinking about Taysom Hill. He's not going to play quarterback, it sounds like, but he's going to play maybe some more tight end for them. Maybe that should have been the pick for me because I have I have
Amos and Thomas.
Yeah, that's right. I would have been like another Saint stack. Maybe he's my quarterback handcuff while getting some tight end points. So
yeah, right.
It's going to be interesting where these sites end up ranking him or putting him. Is he going to be a quarterback? Is he going to be a tight end? What are they going to do? So,
when do those decisions get made? I mean, Taysom Hill was 2 years ago, or was it last summer? We were arguing about what he was listed at, like the ESPN controversy, where he wasn't a tight end anymore. He had Patterson last year. I like what MFL did with Patterson. They're like, well, we started the year this way, so we're not changing it.
Yep. And
I'm not sure, is that the standard? I mean, every site decides for itself.
I think it is the standard, and it should be the standard. The problem is what you've got now is we're drafting in January. So it's like, well, what if we start in January with a guy, we can't move it? Like, I think there's a certain point where the draft season begins. And if I don't know what is that now? Is it post NFL draft? If that's where you kind of gotta, all right, if this guy's going to be a quarterback, he's going to be a quarterback from here on out, or vice versa. So,
well, if Miami with Gesicki or Atlanta with Pitts, paid those guys and had the news conference and like, this is a wide receiver, we use them as a wide receiver almost always, and we're going to pay them accordingly. They mean that much to us. It's a negotiation tactic for the players. If the teams announce them as receivers, the sites, I think, would be beholden to that. Just a matter of when they would do it. And in terms of Pitts, to a lesser extent, Gesicki, you'd have that moment, especially in tight end premium, where you realize, well, he's not a tight end anymore, I guess. So each site probably has its own policy when it comes to that. But with Patterson, even though Patterson had not really been playing wide receiver for years,
right?
MFL had him there, and I reached out to them. I'm sure lots of people did. And they said, this is where we started the year. It's only fair to leave him there. And I thought that made sense.
Yeah, that does make sense, especially in tournaments. You gotta, you can't switch it up. I mean, best ball tournaments, obviously you can't change them during draft season. Like if the tournament's still drafting, it'd be right. You wouldn't be able to do that. But
so before we wrap here,
there's
that points projected that Underdog gives you.
Okay, let's see that.
Right? If you look at your team, it gives you projected points.
Where does it? Do I have to go to my?
Is there a way to see everybody's?
I don't even know. Results. I'm so bad on this site. I'm not gonna lie.
That's how I feel too.
Drafts completed.
I'll call up yours. Oh, you're ahead of me by 37 points.
Oh wow.
You win. You win
I
again.
win. That's it. It's
26.98 to 26.61. Adam wins again.
Who's in for where do I rank among all the teams?
I don't know. Like I could just go team by team and see that, but I don't know if there's another way to do it. Team 1 is way ahead of us. Team 2 is ahead of Team 1. I'm going to stop. I don't do this anymore. Never mind.
You're going down a rabbit hole here.
Never mind.
Never mind.
All right.
So how'd you feel? Did you feel all right in your first Underdog Superflex tournament team?
It was fun to talk with you and do it, but I don't feel like I had a real plan or anything. I don't like drafting last. We were on with Billy Muzio last week, and I think I mentioned this on with him, how I had told him that day, I don't really like the 10 spot. And he's like, I like them all equally. And I'm like, ha ha. He's like, no, I'm serious. And sort of, okay, I get that. Like a pro is not going to really react to what draft order you get. But this one you and I are doing with Death Dealers and with Louis G is my partner in that. We're 12 again. I'm like, I just want to have one guy to play off of. Like if Jared's 11 in that, if Jared had been 12, and I know a lot about him, so I can have some idea what I think he's going to do after me, those 2 picks after me. It's still 2 picks. It doesn't have to matter, but there's nothing like that you can do at 12 because you make those 2 picks and then it's 22 other picks before you go again. There's no strategy. That guy has a tight end already, or this guy doesn't have a quarterback already. There's none of that when you're on the very end. You just have to get your roster filled out and then take a nap. So I like that aspect of it. Even sometimes if it's futile, you think it means something and it doesn't, or you predict wrong. It makes it a little bit more fun.
Yeah, no, I completely get you there. And hopefully we can, I know every time we go, every time we live pod one of these things, we're at the end of the draft here and we're scrambling. But now I'd like to, we're going to do these all, not these specific ones, but we're going to do drafts all summer and we're still in winter here. I got, 6 inches of snow outside. It's 12 degrees. It's crazy. It's wild.
Wow. Tomorrow's 67. No, or Thursday.
Beautiful. Thursday. Melt this stuff, will you?
Balmy. Well, I'm sorry again, like you said, to everybody. You reached out to a bunch of people, meet us in there, and we were not able to do that. But
maybe next time, Michael, what we'll do is we'll start the pod and then we'll get in, and then maybe that'll. I mean, we were literally the last 2 guys in, which never happened. I see. Billy does this all the time, Muzio, and all right, let's get in. And he gets in and there's 5 or 6 spots open and people join. We do it with the last 2. Unbelievable.
Well, that's just how it felt, right? I mean, we didn't pick the room. You don't pick the room you're in, right?
Right.
You just sort of click on the thing and it puts you in a draft. And we realized that it happened. Like, do you want to get out? Like, no, let's just go. So that's fine.
That's right.
If you don't like your team, just do another one.
That's right.
Okay, Adam, nice being with you. Thursday night, Dynasty Deep End. Still a lot of topics to talk about, getting closer to the draft. Got a couple of guests, I'm sure, coming up in the next few weeks with analysis on the rookies. So great time of year for Dynasty players. We'll see you Thursday night here on the Deep End. Mike Shope, Adam Krautwurst. See you then.
See you guys.